A tiny red Peugeot 307 zooms along an icy Belgian roadway on February 16, 2003. Two guys are in the car. One of them is Italian jeweler Leonardo Notarbartolo, who has an office in Antwerp's diamond district, which is where 80% of the world's diamonds are bought and sold. Leonardo's friend Speedy is standing next to him, looking anxious and at the point of a panic attack. Sizable black trash bag that is tied up but overflowing with garbage is in the rear seat of the small car. The two leave the highway and turn onto a solitary dirt road, which they then pursue into a dense forest. From here, all that can be seen of the roadway is occasionally speeding cars. The two occupants of the small Peugeot look out into the darkness while listening as they go miles from civilization through a quiet grove of trees between passing cars. Speedy is less cool and collected than Notarbartolo. Notarbartolo orders Speedy to stay put while he looks around as he exits the vehicle. As Notarbartolo steps out into the forest of trees, he is astounded to see Speedy dashing back and forth, a garbage bag in hand, throwing papers into the bushes and pulling out the videotape from cassette tapes while using it as a launcher for papers. There are flecks of tiny, dazzling diamonds all over the muddy floor. The only evidence left connecting Speedy and Notarbartolo to what would be called the diamond heist of the century, with over 100 million in diamonds and jewelry stolen from the most secure vault in the world, is a trash bag, whose contents are now scattered throughout the forest. Speedy and Notarbartolo aren't really gem dealers, they're gem thieves. Some of the best in the world. How do they do it? Let's find out. However, before that, here's a quick reminder that you can subscribe for free and like the video so that we can boost the algorithm. Comments are most welcomed. Notarbartolo is taking a vacation from his fictitious career as a gem trader in Antwerp's Diamond Quarter by relaxing in a cafe 1.5 years earlier. The diamond trade is centered here, and Notarbartolo is surrounded by powerful men with handguns, securing the area with armored vehicles packed with cash and diamond merchants holding black briefcases chained to their wrists with imposing bodyguards keeping an eye on them at all times. With dozens of successful heists under his belt, he no longer steals because he needs to. Rather, he does it because it is what he was created to do. At age 6, his mother had sent him to purchase milk, but Notarbartolo had seen the milkman dozing. This led to Notarbartolo's very first heist. He reached into the milkman's pockets and extracted 5,000 lira, $8, from there before assisting himself to a bottle of milk. Notarbartolo knew he had found his life's purpose, even though his mother had beaten him when she found out. He began stealing from his elementary school teachers when he was young, and when he was a teenager, he began stealing cars and even picking locks. As his reputation grew, Notarbartolo turned his attention to the greater game, and in his 20s, he began studying individuals to better understand how to rob them. For weeks, he trailed jewelry salespeople in Italy, watching their every move to learn about their routines. After he was more familiar with his target's routines than they were, he struck, making off with a ton of priceless diamonds and jewelry. As the master thief approached his 30s, his goals increased once more, and he started putting together teams of experienced thieves to take on targets that were both more challenging and lucrative. He would assemble a team that included lock pickers, alarm experts, safe crackers, tunnels who could break into any vault from underneath, and even someone who could mount the slick office building's facade. A Jewish gem dealer then approached Notarbartolo in his late 40s as he was sipping his espresso in the middle of Antwerp's diamond district, sat down and made an offer. Notarbartolo would be paid 100,000 euros to provide one single answer. Could the vault in the Antwerp Diamond Center be robbed? The Diamond Center vault in Antwerp, which was the safest in the entire world, and where Notarbartolo kept a portion of his cachet, was the clear answer. The vault had a lock with 100 million different combinations and was 2 floors below the main floor. Heat detectors would sound an alert if they detected any increase in ambient temperatures. such as the minuscule increase in temperature that a man's heated breath may generate within the temperature-controlled vault. Infrared detectors watch for body heat inside the vault. Doppler radars scan the interior of the vault, picking up even the tiniest vibrations or motions. If the vault door was opened, a magnetic field would set out an alarm. A security force was stationed above and was always on high alert, prepared to drop automatic weapons at the first alarm. Yet, Notarbartolo was happy to demonstrate to his customer just how hard the assignment was for 100,000 euros. So he equipped himself with a tiny pen camera that could capture 100 high-resolution photographs and hid it in his breast pocket. Notarbartolo was able to enter the building and the vault itself while taking countless pictures, since he hired an office at the Diamond Center and kept his own diamonds and jewelry in the main safe. After displaying the pictures to his client and informing him that theft was not conceivable, Notarbartolo received a call from a block number 5 months later. A recognizable voice was on the other end of the call. The voice simply replied, "Meet me at this address." A little while later, a text message containing the address showed up on his phone. Notarbartolo arrives at an abandoned warehouse later that day, far away from Antwerp and from prying eyes. He is greeted formally by the little Jewish diamond trader, who then quickly informs him that he wishes to introduce him to some people. Astonished, Notarbartolo finds himself standing in the antechamber of the Diamond Center's vault. It is an exact reproduction, down to the last detail, painstakingly created from his images. Intrigued, Notarbartolo approaches it, and he and the diamond dealer dive under the plastic. 3 Italian men are discussing quietly with each other inside the vault as the dealer and Notarbartolo enters the room. The men refer to one another exclusively by their nicknames rather than their real identities, so that if one is apprehended, the others can't be identified. One of the men introduces himself. He goes by the moniker The Genius and says that he is an expert in alarm systems of all kinds. After that, a tall, strong man gives Notarbartolo a forceful, even oppressive handshake. The others refer to him as Monster, and Notarbartolo is informed that they do so not just due to his monstrously good at everything, but also due to his enormous physical strength and commanding personality. A modest, unassuming older guy who introduces himself as the King of Keys waits patiently for his introduction behind the Genius and the Beast. His task will be to replicate the foot-long vault key, which is said to be hard to copy. He has a pleasant, grandfatherly personality. The target has been decided upon, and the crew is ready. And in a few weeks, the regular De Beers shipment of diamonds, up to $100 million worth of priceless stones, will be trucked in and placed within the vault. The time is February 14th, the day before the theft. Although a camera records everything he does, Notarbartolo is buzzed into the vault alone. The security guard on the other end of the line is used to Notarbartolo's comings and goings to access his safe deposit boxes. But Notarbartolo takes a fast stride to his left as he approaches his safe and pulls out a little aerosol can of women's hairspray, spraying a thin layer of greasy mist over the internal heat and motion sensor. The Diamond District is abandoned later that evening, save for the permanent police station that is manned round the clock. The Monster, the Genius, the King of Keys, and Speedy pull to the curb as Notarbartolo drives a rental Peugeot 307 onto a road that skirts the edge of the neighborhood. They are all carrying huge duffel bags. The gang sneaks inside an abandoned office building by picking the lock and entering secretly. The Genius makes his way up to a small patio on the second story of the Diamond Center, using a ladder he had previously concealed there. An infrared detector there is on guard for intruders, but the Genius slowly approaches the sensor with a polyester shield before placing his shield directly in front of it to disable it. The Genius easily disables an alarm sensor on one of the balcony's windows as the rest of the squad ascends, allowing the team to drop through the window and into a stairway. They are currently inside the Diamond Center, with a security team that is fully staffed just one floor above them. The Genius walks up to the huge vault door and takes out a specially constructed slab of firm aluminum, puts heavy-duty double-sided tape to one side of the slab, and sticks it to two metal plates on the right side of the vault door that controls the magnetic field. Next up is the King of Keys, who makes a copy of the vault key from Notarbartolo's movies and moves to fish it, but stops as a notion occurs to him. As the guards open the vault in Notarbartolo's videos, they almost always stopped by a neighboring utility room. Acting on his suspicion, the thieves broke into the room and searched it, eventually finding the original vault key hanging inside. The king inserts the original key into the lock after taking it, and the genius enters the combination after seeing Notarbartolo's incredibly thorough films. The squad holds its breath as the door is unlocked, as the tumblers finally click into place. The monster is signaled to turn out the lights by the monster with a nod. Otherwise, a light detector in the vault might be activated when the entrance is unlocked. The King of Keys twists the key in the dark, spins the handle, and swings open the enormous metal door. Speedy hurries back up the steps as soon as the door opens to call Notarbartolo on his cell phone, stating only, "We're in," and then hanging up. The final obstacle separating the crew from the vault's interior is a metal grating that the King of Keys picks within the vault's antechamber. Two paint cans are taken by the monster from the utility area, and they are inserted to hold the metal grating open. The big man then exhales deeply and concentrates on controlling both his respiration and heartbeat. Although severely muffled, the heat sensor that Notarbartolo had earlier in the day, covered with hairspray, is still in use and will ultimately detect the monster's body heat through the greasy coating. The monster carefully strips the plastic wrapping from the cables while reaching in the complete darkness. His muscles are trembling as he works with his hands raised above his head. If the knife were to accidentally slip into the wiring, the circuit would be immediately broken and the alarm would sound. The monster has achieved complete isolation for the room from the outside world. The team gets to work right once, covering the light detector with tape and the heat and motion detectors with a styrofoam box. The King of Keys then removes a hand-cranked homemade drill from his luggage and begins working on the locks on each storage box. The lock snaps off and the box opens in 3 minutes to reveal precious gems and diamonds inside. The team had been inside the vault for 6 hours by 5:30 a.m. and their bags were overflowing, even though just 109 of the 160 boxes had been opened. The men must leave the vault immediately in order to avoid the streets swarming with people. Speedy quickly runs back up the stairway to alert Notarbartolo that they are leaving. The squad needs an hour to carry the duffel bags up the stairs while they are full of riches. The squad cheers as they gather in Notarbartolo's flat because the theft is now accomplished and no one will know until the dealers return to work on Monday morning. The black leather satchels that the diamond dealers use to store their jewels are where the true plunder is kept. The bags are stuffed with money and smaller stones. The monster pulls out one of the satchels from a duffel bag and opens it to find nothing inside. He pulls out other satchels in an attempt to clarify his confusion, but they are all empty. The team discovers that most of the satchels in the other duffel bags are empty and that nearly none of the diamonds that should be inside are still present. Notarbartolo declares, "We've been set up." Only a small portion of that, roughly 20 million, was what they were now considering. Notarbartolo had an idea. Perhaps the vendor had set them up. He might have coordinated this with the other dealers and taken their inventories out of the safe right before the robbery, allowing them to claim the diamonds had been stolen and receive insurance money for the gems they would later sell covertly. For the team, it made no difference. If they had been duped, they would never again be able to locate the dealer, but at least they would still have $20 million in plunder to divide. 2 days later, the group had already dispersed, and Notarbartolo and Speedy were traveling by car to return to Turin, Italy. The single piece of evidence connecting them to the crime is contained in a black plastic bag that is in the backseat of the car. Speedy is losing it next to him. The typically anxious Speedy is now experiencing full-blown terror since the setup was too much for him to handle. With the bag of evidence in the car with them, he is unable to proceed farther and instructs Notarbartolo to turn off onto a desolate country road. He remarks, "It's ideal," and Notarbartolo unwillingly concurs. This is where they will burn the trash, destroying any evidence connecting them to the crime. Notarbartolo finds Speedy in the midst of a severe panic episode when he gets back from examining the burning area. Little diamond stones glisten in the muck, and there is trash and money all over the place. Furious, Notarbartolo commands Speedy to calm down. The two then spend hours gathering any evidence that can be used against them, leaving the remaining items scattered across the tree grove and appearing to be nothing more than rubbish. In the weeks that followed, a nearby farmer saw the rubbish and called the police, thinking some kids had dumped it on his property. He became enraged and contacted the cops again after finding more rubbish bundles. This time, when they asked him to describe the rubbish items he had discovered, the farmer noted a diamond center envelope, which piqued the police's interest in this otherwise seemingly random collection of trash. The expert jewel thief would later be charged with commanding the crew of thieves in the vault robbery after DNA evidence from a discarded piece of salami sandwich and an invoice for a low-light monitoring system bearing Notarbartolo's name incriminated him. He was given a 10-year prison sentence, but was released early on parole and is now free under strict supervision. When the team proceeded to meet the Jewish diamond merchant who had organized the theft to divide their loot, he never appeared at the prearranged meeting place. However, the stolen diamonds were never found, and neither the identity nor the motives of the claimed Jewish trader who masterminded the entire scheme were ever revealed. Was the heist actually planned as an insurance scam? Share your take in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up. It will help us to understand our audience and allows YouTube to suggest similar videos to you. Thanks for watching. We hope to see you at the next one.